Good day. Welcome to I Hope channel. In today's episode, we will study organizational theories. Organizational theory refers to the set of interrelated concepts and definitions that explain the behavior of individuals or groups, or subgroups, who interacts with each other to perform the activities intended for the accomplishment of a common goal. It is the sociological study of formal social organizations, such as businesses and bureaucracies, and their interrelationship with the environment in which they operate. It complements the studies of organizational behavior and human resources. Organizational theory also means the study of the structure, functioning, and performance of the organization and the behavior of individuals and groups within it. The list of organizational theories is unity of command, parity of authority and responsibility, absoluteness of responsibility, checks and balance, specialization, bureaucracy, centralization, formal hierarchies, standardization, contingency theory, business re-engineering, and modern theory. Principle of unity of command. This rule says that a person in an organization should have only one direct superior. A situation where a person reports to more than one direct superior is considered undesirable because it could confront the subordinate with a situation where the directives of his superiors are inconsistent with each other. Such inconsistencies could produce confusion, inaction, and conflict in the organization, thus reducing its efficiency or effectiveness. A corollary of the above is the rule against bypassing. This rule says that a superior should avoid giving orders directly to the subordinates of his subordinate. Doing so tends to undermine the authority of the subordinate involved. To avoid bypassing his subordinate, a superior should course his orders or directives to lower-level personnel through their immediate superiors. It is important to note that the above does not represent absolute prohibitions. There are many situations in that dual subordination is knowingly allowed to occur in an organization. Nonetheless, it is easy to see that the wholesale occurrence of multiple subordination and bypassing in an organization can produce great confusion or disorder among its members. Parity of authority and responsibility. This principle says that if a person is responsible for accomplishing a certain organizational task, he should be given sufficient authority to accomplish that task. This is a commonsensical rule, yet experience shows that many problems occur in organizations because superiors often expect their subordinates to achieve certain results but fail to give them the necessary authority to achieve those results. As mentioned, the use of formal position descriptions, which include listing the authority of the person occupying the position, helps to avoid many of these problems. Absoluteness of responsibility. This principle states that though a superior in an organization may delegate portion of his authority to his subordinates, he does not, in so doing, reduce his responsibility or accountability for the performance of the tasks under his jurisdiction. This principle is intended to avoid situations in which a superior can escape accountability for unsatisfactory performance through the simple expediency of delegating authority to his subordinates. Checks and balance. This principle states that an organizational unit whose function is to check or evaluate the activities of another organizational unit must not be placed under the control or supervision of the unit to be evaluated. An example of the observance of this principle is the common practice in business organizations of separating the internal audit unit from the accounting unit. Principle of specialization. This principle states that an organizational unit becomes more efficient the more it specializes in the performance of a set of similar or related activities over time. Bureaucracy. The scholar most closely associated with bureaucratic theory is Max Weber. In Economy and Society, His seminal book published in 1922, Weber articulates the necessary conditions and descriptive features of bureaucracy. An organization governed under Weber's conception of bureaucracy is characterized by the presence of impersonal positions that are earned and not inherited, rule-governed decision-making, professionalism, chain of command, defined responsibility, and bounded authority. Weber begins his discussion of bureaucracy by introducing the concept of jurisdictional areas, institutions governed by a specific set of rules or laws. In a jurisdictional area, regular activities are assigned as official duties, the authority to assign these duties is distributed through a set of rules, and duties are fulfilled continuously by qualified individuals. These elements make up a bureaucratic agency in the case of the state and a bureaucratic enterprise in the private economy. There are several additional features that comprise a Weberian bureaucracy. 1. It is possible to find the utilization of hierarchical subordination in all bureaucratic structures. This means that higher-level offices supervise lower-level offices. 2. In bureaucracies, personal possessions are kept separate from the monies of the agency or the enterprise. 3. People who work within a bureaucracy are usually trained in the appropriate field of specialization. 4. Bureaucratic officials are expected to contribute their full working capacity to the organization. 5. Positions within a bureaucratic organization must follow a specific set of general rules. Weber argued that in bureaucracy, taking on a position or office signifies an assumption of a specific duty necessary for the organization. This conception is distinct from historical working relationships in which a worker served a specific ruler, not an institution. The hierarchical nature of bureaucracies allows employees to demonstrate achieved social status. When an office holder is elected instead of appointed, that person is no longer a purely bureaucratic figure. He derives his power from below instead of from above. When a high-ranking officer selects officials, they are more likely to be chosen for reasons related to the benefit of the superior than the competency of the new hire. When high-skilled employees are necessary for the bureaucracy and public opinion shapes decision-making, competent officers are more likely to be selected. According to Weber, if tenure for life is legally guaranteed, an office becomes perceived as less prestigious than a position that can be replaced at any time. If tenure for life or a right to the office develops, there is a decrease in career opportunities for ambitious new hires and overall technical efficiency becomes less guaranteed. In a bureaucracy, salaries are provided to officials. The amount is determined on the basis of rank and helps to signify the desirability of a position. Bureaucratic positions also exist as part of stable career tracks that reward office holders for seniority. He argues that the development of a money economy is the normal precondition for the unchanged survival, if not the establishment, of pure bureaucratic administrations. Since bureaucracy requires sustained revenues from taxation or private profits in order to be maintained, a money economy is the most rational way to ensure its continued existence. Weber posits that officials in a bureaucracy have a property right to their office, and attempts at exploitation by a superior means the abandonment of bureaucratic principles. He articulates that providing a status incentive to inferior officers helps them to maintain self-respect and fully participate in hierarchical frameworks. Centralization. The concentration of decision-making authority at the upper levels of an organization is often justified on the basis of the need to achieve better coordination and consistency in organizational actions and policies. This, however, also leads to certain dysfunctions. Especially in large organizations, excessive centralization can overload top management with many minor decisions which may be better or more quickly made at the lower levels. That is because the persons involved are closer to the facts surrounding the decision question. Thus, the problem of excessive centralization in an organization may be manifested in delayed decisions from the top. Research has also identified important motivational problems associated with a high degree of centralization in an organization. To the extent of the most important decisions are made by the few managers at the top, the lower levels and personnel are reduced top performing routinary functions which may not sufficiently challenge their abilities or engage their need to experience a sense of personal growth. This can lead to large numbers of apathetic or demotivated employees in an organization. Formal hierarchies. This reflects the system of superior-subordinate relations or chain of command in the organization. The hierarchy also represents the formal channel of communication in the organization. This means that the directives from the top are generally transmitted to the bottom through the formal hierarchy and vice versa. The use of formal hierarchy as the only or the main channel of communication produces its own problems. Many organizations attempt to overcome these problems by expanding the channels of communications in the organization. The methods include such practices as an open-door policy which attempt to give lower-level employees direct access to a top manager, suggestion systems, company picnics and other company-sponsored social functions. The above examples represent channels that are added on without changing the basic structural pattern. Other solutions involve modifying the formal structure itself, as in the creation of matrix form, formal liaison positions, and interdepartmental committees and task forces. These latter examples are intended particularly to improve lateral communications in the organization. Standardization. This refers to the formal specification of the methods used in the performance of the job. Especially in blue-collar positions, it is extensively used in a very detailed way, the methods for performing many factory floor operations. With the advent of computerization and the rise of automation, many white-collar positions that used to require the use of some discretion from the employee have been standardized and routinized. Standardization is beneficial to the extent that it increases efficiency and reduces variability in the output of a process. Nevertheless, it also produces many unintended behavioral problems. Feelings of loss of control by the worker over his job, since all aspects of job performance are pre-specified. Boredom and monotony resulting from the repetitive nature of the work. Because of the motivational problems which result from excessive work standardization, business firms have begun to experiment with various methods in an attempt to overcome these problems. One of these is job enlargement and/or job enrichment. Also under experimentation among firms today are such things as quality circles and self-managing groups which attempt to restore to the factory workers a certain degree of autonomy and control over their immediate work environment. Contingency theory. This theory is a class of the behavioral theory that claims that there is no best way to organize a corporation, to lead a company, or to make decisions. An organizational leadership, or decision-making style that is effective in some situations, may not be successful in other situations. The optimal organization, leadership, or decision-making style depends upon various internal and external constraints, factors. Some examples of such factors include the size of the organization, how the firm adapts itself to its environment, and differences among resources and operations activities. In addition, it states that there is no universal or one best way to manage an organization. Secondly, the organizational design and its subsystems must fit with the environment, and lastly, effective organizations must not only have a proper fit with the environment, but also between its subsystems. Business re-engineering. Champy et al. Define re-engineering as a fundamental rethinking and radical redesign of business processes to achieve dramatic improvements in critical, contemporary measures of performance such as costs, quality and speed. In re-engineering, business firms are asked to review their processes and procedures, for example, order taking, handling of customer complaints/requests, design of new products, and to reconfigure and redesign them to reduce costs, cut processing time, improve the quality of decisions. Although the opportunity to redesign man-made procedures in organizations always existed, it is the power of computers and new information technology which gives re-engineering today much of its promise. By combining automation, the use of online databases, and the use of so-called expert systems, many business processes can be radically redesigned and simplified with dramatic gains in performance. In Hallmark cards, the design of new greetings cards is a critical activity which was traditionally performed in sequential stages, starting with the conception of the product, the creation of a prototype card by an artist, the estimation of costs and other requirements by the production department. Frequently the process took a long time because of the movement of the product design back and forth from one department to another whenever certain changes in the design were made or suggested in any of the departments involved. By forming product teams composed of all the critical expertise needed to see the completion of the design of the product from the earliest stages to the last, the company avoided the sequential and time-consuming movement of the design process across departments and achieved faster new product outputs with better quality. Modern theory. This theory composed of the ideas of different approaches to management development. The approach is fully based on empirical research data and has an integrating nature. The approach reflects the formal and informal structures of the organization, and due weightage are given to the status and roles of personnel in an organization. Modern organization theory studies the following. 1. The parts or individuals in aggregates and the movement of individuals in out of the system. 2. The interaction of individual with the environment found in the system. 3. The interaction among individual in the system. Essentials of modern theory. The followings are some of the essentials of modern theory. 1. It views the organizations as a whole. 2. It is based on systems analysis. 3. The findings of this theory are based on empirical research. 4. It is integrating in nature. 5. It gives importance to interdisciplinary approach to organizational analysis. 6. It concentrates on both quantitative and behavioral sciences. 7. It is not a unified body of knowledge. That's all for today. Coming up in our next episode, the concept and nature of staffing. This has been Ariel Hilbuena, the video creator of I Hope channel, inviting you to like, subscribe and click all notifications bell, and watch our next video. Until then, bye.